Good morning and welcome back to the lecture series on tribal studies in India, interdisciplinary perspectives and approaches. So, today is going to be the last lecture of the last module that I am teaching for this course, and today we are going to discuss tribal religion and socio-political setup. According to Caroline Fleur-Lobban, Richard Lobban and Linda Zangari in their work entitled Tribe, a Socio-Political Analysis, the critics have suggested that the term tribe should be dropped from scientific usage by the anthropologists because of its pejorative and misplaced connotations associated with non-European peoples, and because the term is arbitrarily rather than systematically applied. The continued use of tribe in scientific and popular discourse even after the end of formal colonialism is seen as a perpetuation of these racist myths. Instead, the scholars suggest using terms such as culture, ethnic group, society or people in order to designate or refer to the tribes. In his thesis entitled Odisha Tribal Creation Origin, Myths and Religion, Satyaban Garada informs that in the Indian context, particularly in Odisha, tribal communities are significant. India is home to over 30 million tribals divided into 427 tribes, with 62 tribes residing in Odisha alone. Historically speaking, Odisha has been strongly identified with its tribal population, and even the name Odisha is derived from a tribal term. Dr. Rolua Puya finds that tribal religions in socio-anthropological literature have been recorded as primitive, problematically recorded as primitive and linked to animism. He further observes that in Indian context, this colonial conceptualization defined tribal religion as a marker of difference from dominant caste society, thereby placing the tribal people outside historical and textual religions. Early sociology of religion in India largely focused on the Hindu religion, thereby giving limited attention to minority or tribal religions. However, we see that the reality is far more nuanced, layered and complex. The tribes in India belong to multiple religions, and many of these tribes have neither fully converted to Christianity nor have they been absorbed into the Hindu fold. Even among the converted tribals, the older religious traditions and cultural practices are often still observed. So, here I would like to cite an instance from my own field work to Dumka in Jharkhand. So, prominent section of Santals in Dumka, Jharkhand claim that their jati is Santal, but their religion is Christianity. So, all these village houses bear the cross signifying or symbolizing Christianity. So, that is their current faith. However, they say that their jati is still Santal. So, here jati refers to body substance, race, ethnicity, that has not changed. So, they actually represent a very syncretic, a very hybrid phenomenon or religious evolution, one could say. They celebrate Sohrai as much as Christmas. So, some tribes have creatively indigenized new religions, adapting them to their local traditions and reality, which can be seen in the case of the Mizos and Nagas who have embraced Christianity. This highlights the agency of the tribes in choosing and adapting their own faith. Tribal religion in Odisha is an admixture of animism, animalism, anthropomorphism and ancient worship. Their profound belief in the supernatural regulates human existence and forms the basis of many festivals and rituals. They include life crisis rites, community rites, ancestor cult, totemic rites and observance of taboos. Tribals also engage in various forms of magical and occult practices. All these practices aim at ensuring personal happiness, community well-being as well as signify group solidarity. The priest among the tribals officiates in all communal worship and rites related to birth, marriage and death, and the priest's advice is sought by the village panchayat. Priests also have various names such as the Dehuti, the Botia, the Jani, Sisa, Pujari as well as Naike. For tribals, it is a base idea. It is a very bad idea to take any kind of rural conflict or homegrown conflict beyond the village boundaries. So, a conflict grown inside the village must be resolved within the village boundaries. That actually clearly enables a tribal community to secure and safeguard their dignity as a collective people. Even if they fight, even if they celebrate, they do it together and they are in solidarity with each other, right, as a community. Food and merriment during festivals and fairs help to celebrate a sense of togetherness of a village. As the tribal philosophy is based on pleasure principle and a general pacifist view of life, it does not believe in dividing among the people. The tribal people are usually also not aggressors. They do not commonly speaking go and attack another community without provocation. So, they believe in pleasure principle, a life based on pleasure principle and pacifist view of life, peace loving, harmonious people who derive their identity out of a collective existence, out of a sense of togetherness. According to Garada, tribes in Odisha are known for their well organized political systems. Historically, these systems, these political systems were responsible for maintaining peace, harmony, solidarity, and they provided security from external interference. These tribal societies have traditions and customs that govern their social, economic, political and religious aspects of life, with norms for behavior and social sanctions to regulate the solidarity and resource use. So, village as a socio-political unit or structure governed by certain headmen follow certain strictures, certain rules, customs and traditions, so that equal access and distribution of resources is maintained, as well as the community's solidarity is not threatened in any way. For example, the communal feeling among the tribes such as the Santals is realized during the Sohrai festival. During the Sohrai festival, the Santals have this practice of each household contributing some paddy grain and one hen for a joint feast. So, each house has to give a hen and some grain, and together that will be cooked as part of a joint feast. In a Santali village, the religious heads are identified in parallel with the administrative leaders. This can be understood from the fact that the Pargana Bonga is analogous to Parganait or the head of the Pargana, and the Majhi Bonga is identified with Majhi Haram or the village head. In fact, Majhi Bonga stands for the spirits of all the village headmen and is the only instance in the Santali religion where the spirit of a living person is being worshipped at an altar, right. So, here we see religion and administration, these two wings of social life being interwoven, these two wings of public life being interwoven. So, each headman's position, bears the shadow, bears the essence of a respective spirit. When it is the Parganayat or the head of the Pargana speaking, he is duly supported, duly endorsed by a demigod called the Pargana Bonga. He is himself, a human form, but as a leader he carries the essence of Pargana Bonga. Whoever becomes the Parganayat has the blessings and the power, the spirit of Pargana Bonga backing him, right. Similarly, the Majhi Haram or the village head who is dealing with the political affairs of the village is backed by, is powered by the Majhi Bonga, the spirit of Majhi. So, once again with a human form, the Majhi Baba becomes a demigod, almost a quasi divine figure. All these headmen, these administrative leaders, Parganayat, Manjhi, they are quasi divine figures who ought to be followed, who ought to be obeyed. So, this obedience is being generated and incited among the people, and they are required to abide by the rules created by Parganayat and Manjhi Haram as divine ordinance, as the words given by the divine through the mouth of these administrative leaders. In fact, like I said, there is a than, there is a holy place for, or a spiritual altar for the Majhi, right, where the the Majhi becomes the sole living person, the only living person who is being worshipped at an altar, right. And Majhi Bonga or the spirit of the Majhi stands for the spirits of all the village headmen. So, when someone is worshipping, an ordinary villager is worshipping at the altar of Majhi Bonga, he is also subscribing to the rules, the prescriptions that the village headmen have set up for the rest of the village to follow. That is how religion and administration go hand in hand in a tribal village socio-political system. Domestic and community rules define the home and village spaces through prescriptions of proper and improper codes of conduct. For instance, Akhra as a space is a training center. The cattle shed and the threshing ground as well as the Akhra, all these spaces or places are considered as consecrated. So, the cattle shed, the Akhra, the threshing ground, these are all sacred places. Menstruating women are not allowed to enter the cattle shed. The courtyard becomes a site for organizing Jitya and Raj Karma festivals, right. So, each space has its own code of conduct, the notion of propriety and impropriety associated with each space in the village, be it the domestic space or be it the collective communal village space. The Akhra, for example, is a communal dancing platform that is located at the center of the village. This is where villagers of both genders and from all age groups convene, and at any festival gatherings, dancing and singing in accompaniment of music and playing of instruments take place at the Akhra. So, it becomes a place of celebration of the community, celebration of the community's togetherness. Before India's independence, the headman was recognized by local administration and was responsible for law and order, monitoring infiltrators and also controlling practices such as revenue collection and assisting the officials. The village heads are known by different names such as Majhi, Pradhan, Munda as well as Gomango. Beyond the village, there existed organizations covering groups of neighboring villages, often influenced by local administration divisions. Examples include the Pragana or Pargana system among the Santhal, Ho and Bathodi tribes in Mayurbhanj, which are led by the Praganas. In Keonjhar, the Juanga and Bhuyas had Pirha units led by the Sardars. In South Odisha, the Mutha units led by the Muthadar were common among tribes such as Kandha, Gadba, Saura and Porja. The village council or panchayat led by the Majhi or headman is an exclusively male conclave. This is something we have to understand, and this is something we have also been discussing in our previous lecture, where we talked about we discussed the gender dynamics among different tribal communities. So, headman and the panchayat system led by him is exclusively a homosocial bonding, it is a male conclave. Because the Santhal woman or the tribal woman traditionally has no right to inheritance, generally speaking, or to own property, and she is barred from performing social and religious duties, her position in the panchayat can principally be as a victim rather than as a petitioner. So, a woman can never be a petitioner, a woman can never be an arbiter or a judge. She is principally visible in such a system as a victim, as someone who comes to complain, and as someone who is thereby vulnerable to social harm. So, post independence, the introduction of the Panchayati Raj system led to the weakening of traditional political organizations. Institutions such as Gram Panchayats, Panchayat Samitis and Zilla Parishads became effective in local administration and development. We see that the 73rd Amendment to the Constitution, the promulgation of the PISA Act and reservation of seats for women are new facts in the process of democratic devolution of power. Despite such transformations and changes in the political structure of the tribal village and the rural scenario, traditional functionaries at the family, lineage and village levels remain effective in dealing with socio-cultural matters. Development programs can be smoothly implemented only where traditional and new leaders cooperate and work together. The tribal society officially ostracizes an individual if the assembled council identifies him as a criminal. The performance of outcasting the criminal often has a hypermasculine show of counter offense, and there is a violence attached to the protest against an identified criminal, such that women are consciously kept away from such scandalous procedure. So, there is a lot of verbal expletives, for example, and physical excesses that are displayed as a way of protesting against an identified criminal, and from such extreme acts, from such scandalous procedures, women are consciously kept away. Dr. Roluapuya's study is significant in understanding that the tribal movements in India have often been deeply rooted in religion. The Mizo movement for independence, led by the Mizo National Front or MNF between 1966 and 1986, is a prime example. The MNF integrated religion, specifically Christianity, into its nationalist discourse, asserting that the Mizo identity cannot be separated from their religious values or religious identity. The MNF leaders used biblical imaginaries such as Operations Jericho in order to frame their armed struggle for independence. The concept of freedom, or locally coined as Zalena, so Zalena or the concept of freedom, was articulated against assimilation into dominant Hindu culture and values, and there was this prevalent fear among the Mizos of losing their Mizo-ness, their intrinsic inherent Mizo-ness and Christian identity. Christianity thus became a key ethnic marker for group solidarity within the MNF, even establishing the Mizoram Evangelical Committee, in short MEC, for religious activities within their camps. The MNF's use of violence led to open condemnation from the church, which saw it as a betrayal of Christian teachings. So, we see that it becomes a complicated dynamics or discourse between what the church has to teach and how the Mizo people adapt those values vis-a-vis their own immediate local realities. So, the fact that the grand narrative propagated by church or the larger scheme of Christianity and Christian teachings do not entirely fit into the the Mizo consciousness, the Mizo sensibility. The Mizo people, the tribes of the northeast adapt Christianity according to their own ease and understanding. They customize those teachings according to their own realization, their own their own consciousness and their own let us say tribal values and sensibilities. So, the church's Aizawl Citizens Committee or ACC consistently advocated for non-violence as far as the MNF activities were concerned. On the other hand, the MNF justified its violence as a just war and accused the church of selective condemnation for not challenging the state violence against the tribals. So, the MNF led by the Mizos would say that the church was accusing the Mizos for being violent, but the church did not point out, or rather the church overlooked the state violence against the tribals. This particular case thus illustrates how the complex and contested interaction takes place between religion, violence and political imagination within tribal nationalism. This dynamics has been very lucidly and very with remarkable ease explained by Dr. Rolu Apuya significantly and very lucidly in his work, which is recommended for the learners. In conclusion, so we see that the tribal communities, particularly exemplified by those in Odisha, possess rich, diverse cultural heritages with deeply ingrained religious and socio-political systems. Their religions, often an admixture of various spiritual traditions and a result of ongoing exchanges with the non-tribal religions, and thereby the metamorphosis and the evolutions that are happening, all these reflect intimately in their daily lives, in their economic activities as well as their sense of community well-being. So, the tribals, to conclude, believe in propitiating the village spirits as well as the ancestral and domestic spirits who keep a watch over the villagers and stand for the betterment of the village, for the community health and general enhancement of happiness and prosperity. Their traditional political structures, right from family units to inter-village organizations, demonstrate complex and effective governance mechanisms that have in varying degrees adapted to or been challenged by the post-independence modern state structures. So, with this we come to the end of our lecture today and also the end of this module, and this is the last lecture for this course from my side. Thank you so much learners for choosing my course, and it has been a wonderful journey together. Thank you.